I know, Boyle. Alright, so let's get this situated. What did I say about being... You know, trying to ask Ed to be quiet is like asking a fish not to drink. Alright, so I'm going to go... lecture mode.
All participants are muted. The recording has started.
Alright, everybody. You are currently listening to the disclaimers by Davidlee Buess and Edward Johnston. And, well, since we started it, we're going to keep on going with it. We're going to do this to get a startup going on it. Well, we should have. Hold on.
So I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer.
Were you guys actually hearing that? This thing's just doing...
I'm hearing you.
There we go.
Well, I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. And I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher. Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell. And he says, he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word? I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge, dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose. And that's love for country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer and that would be eliminated from schools too?
You are listening to the disclaimers by Davidlee Buess and Edward Johnston. Today is July 17th, 2017. And Ed, Dave, take it away.
Thank you. We would like to thank you for joining us this evening. This is Ed. That's the one
Dave.
thing. Hello?
And this is Dave.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you are here. Okay. Anyhow, we've got an interesting conversation we're going to get in tonight with people. We want to make sure that people get to know and the real truth compared to the fantasy about our court system. And I mean fantasy of the court system. Now, I'm putting together an interesting document myself. I'm writing the whole history of the court system. Because remember, the court system in this country, compared to what people are lied to, didn't start until 1871. Okay? And that's the truth. When you go back in real history, there was no attorneys in this country, realistically, until that. The American Bar Association was formed and started in 1878. This was after the Civil War. They want you to think that attorneys have been around and our forefathers were all attorneys. And this is the point that people don't do real historical checks. They don't verify things. We've been growing up, it's like a driver's license. We get told, oh, you need a driver's license. Oh, no, you're supposed to pay taxes. And nobody verifies this. So we're the sheep that are jumping off the cliffs here, and people are not paying attention to the truth of what's going on here. And that is the main point. We need to know the truth of what's going on in our country. Not the myths, not the standards, not the crap that we're being taught in schools. The schools today are the biggest failure we got. And that's the one thing I want to bring to their attention. Red Skelton, and I like that because we're using his introduction to this because it's a public deal. We're making sure it's public and people comprehend what he's doing. And he means what he says. 2 states did get added. That was Hawaii and Alaska. Prior to that, it was 48 states. They didn't get, Alaska and Hawaii was not added until the Democrats took over the House. Okay? They were not added. God was not added into Pledge of Allegiance until 1969. Okay? God was not part of the Pledge of Allegiance, and if we go back to the whole structure of our system, it was the Great Spirit and Mother Earth. That's the real truth. And, everybody goes, oh, God's been around since the beginning of time and all this. And this is part of what I've been doing in the historical instrument that I'm writing right now. And I can prove all this stuff when I put it out to the general public. You'll see it here in a few days when I get it finished. Because the main thing what I'm putting together is so that way there is not a conflict of interest. Like me and Dave, they wrote it, we quote it. We do the historical reference check to the corporations. Okay? And the corporation is your elected and public servants. Okay, and realize that the corporation technically was not really set up, and even if you do some of the actual research, until after the Civil War. Prior to the Civil War, we didn't have half the stuff that we are led to believe today that goes back in all its history. Prior to today, there was, until after the Civil War, there was no Democrat and Republican Party. That was formed and started being formed basically when, what was that? The South walked out March 27th, 1863. So when the South walked out, remember the South was the Democratic Party. That's real history. And everybody keeps going, well, Lincoln was an attorney, Ed, and oh yeah, we know Lincoln was an attorney, but remember, He took a constitutional oath as well as a bar oath. And I will have that actual bar oath in the historical instruments out here pretty soon. And the bar oath says, including by the American Bar Association, the bar oath is to the King and Queen of England. The bar attorneys do not have any structure, nor do your maritime courts in this country. They are not Americans, period. They are not part of the American structure in the court system, period. And this is the one fact that we've got to do it, to come up with this stuff. Me and Dave have been doing this. We're filing our instruments. We're working with other people, they're doing their instruments. And so we are coming up with a solution. We are breaking the codes through these people. They're panicking because of stuff that we've got coming out. People are literally panicking for what me and Dave have been putting out and another associate of ours. Okay, but we don't want to get into that until after she makes her other move. I mean, the person, I ain't using that word, but the person makes the other move. The point being on this one is that we have to make sure that everybody knows the truth. Okay, and this is the point, is knowing the truth. Remember, your elected and public servants work for you. We have elected and public servants. If you are an immigrant, okay, you have privileges. You have no rights. That's the main point. People got to comprehend this fact. Okay, you don't have a rights until your fifth generation. That is up to you to learn your rights, your structure. And when you go to these court systems, you have to know when you go into court to ask the judge, what jurisdiction am I in? Ask him if I'm in, Christianity. Don't forget, Christian is another structure. Remember, Christian of the medieval times, if you were not a Christian, you were murdered and butchered. And that's the same identical thing that the Roman Catholic Church did. Christianity and Roman Church are the same foundation structure. There's no difference. And like I said, you can do the research. I'm doing the research. I'm putting it in the instruments coming out. There is no difference. This is a fact. This is a reality. I mean, it's like we have the recall in the state of Oregon going on. Okay, and that was the one thing I talked to a few people today about, and we're getting that moving. And I'm the one who originally filed the original deal on it, but this is where people are confused. I filed it lawfully, not legally. I am not a legal citizen. This is where people don't comprehend the reality of the world, of the United States world, of the 48 states. They do not comprehend this fact. Okay, we are not a democracy. We never have been, and we're quoting that in the laws, and people are getting upset because they're realizing we're a republic. And if you paid attention in the news media, Donald Trump just fired his campaign manager for not registering with the Foreign Registration Administration Act, 1938 FARA. That's what I'm filed and filing on Cape Brown in the House and Senate. These members are not doing this. This is when I get the template totally finished. I got one totally done, and you can ask for it. I'll send it to you. I'll email it to you. You can change it for your people. I don't care. Just make sure my name is out of it. If you want to use it, that's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But you are a responsible adult. And that means you have to be responsible for your actions. I am not your attorney. I am not your doctor. I am not nothing to you. I'm just a guy that's been hit by the turnip truck and drugged for miles. Dave is not an attorney either. We aren't sitting there. We're not doing this stuff, playing attorney games. We're not sitting there playing this stuff to cause anybody harm. That's like 192, and people have been getting caught up in this structure under House Resolution 192, the signing off your water electricity bill. We are working on that, but we want to make sure when we do that and have it completely done. And I've got a template up. There's several templates out now. I see a few other people I know that have written a few other templates up that they've done. Okay, I've got my template that I've put up Mine is more in the structure because these elected and public employees for the electricity, water company, and all that. Remember, they can privatize the public structure, but they're still employees. That is the point. They are still employees. So once you comprehend that you have elected and public servants that work for you, remember, these men and women are working for you. Okay? Elected and public servants that, don't do their job. You need a file on them. People say, well, if I file on them, it ain't going to do no good. Why waste my time in life? Well, you're not wasting time in life. When you start doing this, things start moving. It might not be where you see it on the grand scale, where you think it should be moving the way it should be in your mind, but if you step out of the movie and you watch the production, you'll see administrative rules start changing things. You'll see the newspaper write things about how so-and-so got nailed or this or that happened, and you go, oh, I wonder how that happened. Okay? That is the point that you know how it happened. Okay? Because you sat there and you made the what? Oh, complaint? But I don't suggest complaints. Complaint is whining. You put it in a complaint, but also, too, you write an affidavit of criminal facts. Okay? You write it as a criminal charge. This is the point that you need to know what's going on and how to handle your circumstances. We do provide evidence. If you go to our site, we've got new stuff on our Facebook sites. We've got new stuff on our new.Oregon tracker site. I even got the structure on it dealing with we've got stickers that we're getting made for your homes, so you can put it on your homes. I got stickers being made so you can put back on your covered wagon when you travel. And if you still got a license, that's fine. You can still put this on as you travel. Okay? This way you're letting the police know that if they pull you over and want to terrorize you, you have the right to sue them. So you're letting them know that if they do this, that, and the other thing, you're going to hold them liable. Now, me and Dave were trying to work with a couple people doing some books here. We've been having some runaround over that one. So I just called another company up, and we'll be starting to get our own structure written up and done, because we realize that the people that we've been dealing with, realize that some of these people are a joke, It is one of those frustrating things where you run into people that are not honorable, and we deal with that. We all deal with that, That is the one thing we literally all of us deal with. So instead of keep running around in circles like some of us do, that's the one point we don't want to continue that with ourselves, running around in circles. We know you don't want to run around in circles. So that is the point that when we do the stuff that we're writing up and putting the stuff out, we would like you guys to read it. We want to get commentaries. If you guys don't comprehend it, because I'm not going to say understand, because you shall not stand underneath me or Dave, because you're supposed to be adults. We are learning this, educating people, so this way there are not issues like that. So we have to work together on these situations. It's very important that we work together on these things. It's very important that we educate the children. Trust me, your children can learn this stuff. Your children, I don't care if they're 5 years old, they can comprehend this stuff. People say, oh, the kid can't get it. The kid don't know this. The kid don't know that. Yes, they do. Okay? Kids are not ignorant. This is the one thing that I watch people do all the time, play kids. I remember when I first started learning this stuff, when I started going to public meetings when I was very, very young. I was part of even Jerry Brown's governor campaign in 1972, and I was 10 years old. I've been there. I've seen it. I lived it. So don't sit there and say your kid is too young, or they're too young to comprehend this stuff and to understand it, all right? They will comprehend it. Don't sell them short. That is the one thing. Do not sell your kids short. Now, the one thing that I'm putting together is the history of the court system. And the history of the court system is going like this. We can prove the whole structure of the court system, all right, going back to the Vatican. I can prove the whole structure of the court system coming through the Queen of England and how the bar license are registered to the King and Queen of England, and the Bar Association is a federal fraud and cannot be even in this territory. I will have that completely written up here in the next couple of days. I thought I was almost done today. I wrote a little mini book on it, literally. I thought I was done today, but then some new information surfaced, and so I had to incorporate a different direction in a sense. And that happens. That's part of life. We know how that works. We all been through there. You know, that's the one thing about life. We have all been there. You know, so that is the one thing that, you know, that is the circumstances that we all have. And the other point is, I love the one point is that we see a lot of competition now since me and Dave been doing our show for over a year and a half now on this structure every Monday night. I have watched numerous other people start doing their own little talk shows or their own little commentaries, and they're always starting to plug it in on mine and Dave's time. So that's okay. We get the point, you know, and, you know, that's fine. But the point is that you guys have to realize when you're going to these court deals, okay, you have to know what the court is. You have to know what court your jurisdiction you're going into. You have to know the paperwork when you speak up in the court. You know, I've helped many, many people bring their paperwork in, get stuff helped out for them, you know, and then, you know, I recently have gone through a few other people going, oh, can you redo my paper? Can you redo this? Excuse me. You know, it really disturbs me when people ask for this, and I spend hours on things, and then all of a sudden they want you to redo it at the last minute because they never filed it, or they forgot where they put it, and they never printed it out and filed it. Well, you know, you get to a point where you just start saying, you know, why am I repeating myself here? You know, if you're not going to do it, why am I wasting my life? You know, and that's the way I really look at it today. It's wasting my life. You know, I don't have to do this for anybody, but I do it because I care. The Great Spirit does it, you know, wants me to do this, and so that's the way I look at it. Sorry, I don't go by the British terminology of God. You know, that's the one thing I do not go by God. I go by the Great Spirit, Mother Earth, and the Creator. That's what this country was founded on. This country was not founded on so-called God because the Bible came from England. We are not a British colony. Me and Dave have actually filed and proved that we are not a British colony. You know, and that's the point. We have filed and proved we're not a British colony. So when people get into the deal, we like to say that, you know, please realize it. I respect your First Amendment right, your religious belief. You're entitled to your religious belief. I'm entitled to my religious belief. My religion is the Constitution. That's simple. Okay? I believe in the Constitution and the Creator that gave us the Constitution. You know, and that's the way I look at it. I don't change my opinion. I don't change that. I've been going through that opinion since I was a very young man. You know, I figured these things out growing up in politics. I literally grew up in politics. So I watch this stuff that's going on. I live this stuff even today. You know, I mean, we got a recall going on in the state of Oregon right now dealing with the governor. Okay, and, you know, I wish the guy that was successful on it, but like the guy, I sat there and I tried to give him some information, and what did he tell me? Oh, I'm not going to read this. I don't care what you say. And it's like, dude, you know, and he's going through this new electronic stuff on the deal that he's trying to say, and I'm like, you don't get this. I spoke against the bill because of the way the machine was designed. I read the machine design. You know, so it's like, you know, this is the point that, you know, it's really disturbing when people do not comprehend the real design of what's going on. That's why I say you do a paper background check. Don't rely on electronics. because electronics can be deleted at any moment, any time. And that is a frustration. We are actually living today, and this is going on today. So it's like, I mean, you guys got to realize that these things that are going on today, everybody goes, well, the Bible says that we have to relive history. The Bible is a book. Are you that mentally programmed where you have to relive somebody else's history, that you cannot change history? And people say that, the Bible will put God and the devil in the Bible so we could have God and the devil, so this way we know what's going on. Sorry to say, folks, I think if people go along with that one, that scares the hell out of me. Okay? Because if you people want to go by the Bible and say this is what we're supposed to live by, that is really scary when you really think about it. When you really think about it, it's scary, because then you're telling the kids that this is the way it's supposed to be, and there's no future, there's no help, there's no hope, so you're supposed to live it this way. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to improve our kids. We're supposed to be able to set them up so that way they're not in the taxation system, so they're not in the slavery points of view. We're supposed to be protecting the bloodline. Your bloodline, you're supposed to be protecting your bloodline. Your bloodline. I know we've been conditioned in the way some of us grew up at 18. Our parents threw us out in the street and said, "You're good luck, kid." Okay, but see, remember, if you actually do real history, that definitely goes back to England. That's the English style, what they did. The English were doing that when they came to this country, that we're doing the same thing. And they're doing it today. That's why you've got the homeless programs. That's why you got these programs where everybody's getting thrown out on the street today from DHS. I've been at the public hearings in Oregon when they say, well, these kids have been in DHS all this time. Then they get thrown out on the street. They're not educated to survive in the street because the DHS employees failed, to educate the children to live on the street. They failed because they brought them up in the so-called system. If they weren't living by the system, they weren't allowed to have rights. That's the point. They're brought up and taught this stuff that if you don't do what we tell you to do, you're not allowed to eat. It's like the state of Oregon has passed the deal this year too. 12 years old, you have to go get a fishing license. So in other words, you're telling the children, if you're hungry, if you don't pay the privilege or the king or the devil to eat, you're not allowed to eat. You're going to go to jail. So you're not allowed to feed yourself. This is exactly what's going on teaching the children. If a kid doesn't know how to gut a fish or survive, how do you expect them to survive in the real world? The thing is, our ocean on the West Coast is dead, almost totally dead. Fukushima is letting out so much radiation, and if you type it in on the internet, fishing boats, they're actually out there on the fishing boats telling people right now today, the fish ain't out there. These guys are going out fishing. There ain't no fish out there. That is the point. There is no fish. A lot of places there is no fish out in the ocean. We got the company in Washington. It's leaking all over the place, and it's almost in the Columbia River right now. So this is the point that people have to comprehend this structure of it, of what's really going on. You have to know what's really going on in the world. This is your own area too. Collect rainwater. People say, oh, we're not supposed to collect rainwater. We collect rainwater. We're going to jail. Well, you don't have to be like me with your barrel sitting out in front like I do in my house. I mean, I have them out the front. I'm publicly known. I walk around with my sidearm on me or my blades on me because I have that constitutional right, because it's called personal responsibility. I don't go out and cause problems. Well, I can't say that. I do that with elected and public servants on pretty much on a regular basis, I guess people would say. And this is the point that if you don't protect your children, remember, I'm talking about your children. I don't have children. My children are dead. So, I've already had my opportunity in life with that way, And so mine didn't live. So I look at it that way, of what transpired on that. And then the other point is, I want to hit this before I turn it over to Dave. And then we'll get back into the structure we're going to be talking about tonight as a court system. It's like the thing that gets to me, I lost my children, okay? I lost that part of my life. Why am I doing this? Because the one thing is because I care for my country, okay? I don't care for traitors. I don't care for anybody else in the structure. I care for my country because if the children do not know what they are doing, if the children have no concept of that reality of what's really going on, your children, if they're not being educated by you, mommy, daddy, and the parents, it's your responsibility to educate your children. And if you're not educating your children, how do you expect them to survive? It's your bloodline. It's your responsibility. Your fault if they don't make it. That means if your bloodline don't happen, it's like mine. I become extinct. And that's what it is. When you hear about all these scientists tell, oh, we lose 1,000 species every day. That's called humans, folks. We're an animal. Think about it. We're all animals. We're an animal first before we're anything else. And that is the point. We are animals before we're anything else. So unless you start comprehending these facts, these points of view of the truth, this is where people are losing it, that they facts of what's really going on. They really don't get the truth. And it's up to you to protect your bloodline. And I will tell you that it's up to you to protect your bloodline. Nobody else is going to protect your bloodline but you. So we're going to be getting into the court structures here in a bit. But I wanted to bring your attention to these points because if you don't start standing up to the circumstances of yourself and protecting yourselves, you have to realize that you don't have a future. It's your future that you're losing. Nobody else is losing it. That's the whole point. You got to raise and protect your kids to grow water, to grow food. Collect rainwater, can food, learn how to can food. You start doing that, you'll start eating healthier, and you'll notice difference in your body. And if you can't afford a filtration system, set up a rock system on your house, with river rocks and dirt and gravel and different other things to filter out the stuff going down levels. There are ways to do things, that you could build and you could have accomplishments, and you can see the accomplishments that you're building on your land, your area that benefits you and your family. So with that one, I'm going to be turning over the floor to Dave and let him do that. But I want to thank you all for joining us. I want you to realize that we have to pay attention to what the 48 states are, when the corporation became the corporation, and how we are going to be protecting the bloodline of this country. And I do have to say, even though I'm not a voter, because I am not a registered citizen, I am a lawful bloodline American, I do have to say, what Trump is doing as the president of the 1871 corporation, that's what he is, he knows it, he's the president of the corporation, he's admitted it on his speech, if he actually comprehended it, that's what he actually said, he comprehends it, and by him firing his manager, by him firing other people because they're not registered by the Foreign Administration Registration Act of 1938, World War II structure that is supposed to be protecting you, our family, including legal immigrants. I don't have a problem with legal immigrants so long as they do it correctly. If they're illegal, I'll get them out of our country. I don't have compassion. You came in my country, it's like coming in my home. You don't come in my home, period, without my permission. And that's a fact. You don't have a right to be in this country. And that's a fact. You don't have rights. You have privileges. And so we need to make sure that these people comprehend their privilege. Anyhow, Dave, the floor is yours. I got a little over time than normal, but anyhow.
Well, thank you, Ed. tonight I guess we're going to kind of rip on the court and the justice system. Usually if you are arrested, the first thing they do is read you your rights. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you. Now, police seem to think that once they've read you your rights, they can continue to question you. Oh, not so, my friend. The police, after reading your rights, you have a right to an attorney. If you can't afford one will be appointed for you. La 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 land.
Can I add something to the la 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 there, Dave?
That was a la 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 land. Yes.
Oh, I know, but remember, in the Constitution, in the structure of this country, there is nothing says that you have a right to an attorney. There was no such thing as attorneys.
Well, they change laws from time to time.
Well, administrative rules, but
I should say, excuse me, they change the corporate structure from time to time.
Okay.
Okay. Now we have this thing called the Miranda right. So the police, sheriff, whoever, give you this right. Okay, and after they read it to you, do you understand these rights? Yes. Okay, then they start questioning you. Well, excuse me, where's my attorney? If your attorney is not present after they read you your rights and they continue to question you, trying to get you to incriminate yourself, they have committed fraud upon the court. No?
They committed fraud, but not fraud upon the
Well,
court.
they committed fraud. Okay. So everything they therefore use against you is not submittable as evidence because they broke the law, violated the law. So you have to comprehend the fact that if they ask you as much as one question after they read you your rights, you can sue them. So now what they're doing is they're setting where the prosecutor can begin his bill and invoice against you. So the object is to place you under arrest, book you, get you into their system, whereas they can then create a financial document which can then be submitted by the prosecuting attorney to the clerk of the court for collection. And in that would be, the time of the officer to track you down, to pull you over, whatever, okay? So he has now got on paper his police report stating the time and all that. The time it took him to write his report, the time to transfer, the time to book you, all that crap. Okay? That goes into what they call a bill. And that bill, once the prosecutor has it, he submits it to the clerk of the court. Clerk of the court. Man, I can't keep that straight. The clerk of the court. God, I did it again. The clerk of the court, okay, well, he or she don't want it, so she gives it to the judge, who then cons you into accepting it, to pay it. Fines, penalties, all this other BS they go through. Because you have to remember, all the courts are pseudo-corporate courts. In the bankruptcy of 1933, all these Stage 3 courts were turned over to international law, and our laws and statutes were copywritten. So The pseudo corporate court is a corporation which is traded on Dun and Bradstreet and Wall Street. The judge himself is traded on Dun and Bradstreet, Wall Street. The attorneys are all traded on Dun and Bradstreet, Wall Street as corporations for profit. Do any of you see a conflict of interest in any of this? It seems to me that when I presented, I filed a case into court. After I got my court number, I wrote the court a letter. Please provide me your conflict of interest statement. The next thing I know, my case is being dismissed for failure to state a claim. That's funny because on, I think, the third page of that case, I had claims. But, we got to dismiss that. And then I got a letter that said, you have to be stopped. Now, I would like to know why the judge, who is not the court, he is the presiding officer over the court, the administrator, but he's not the court, so why is he telling me I have to be stopped? Because I know the truth of the criminal activity of these bastards? You do not receive, nor do you ever get, a fair trial. It's all African engineered against you. So I wanted to bring those points up for one reason and one reason only, because people need to comprehend the fact that the judicial system in the United States, and it was ruled so by the United States Supreme Court, all courts are crooked. So where is your, quote, equal justice under the law? We don't have a thing called equal justice under the law. We have just us under the law, meaning the judge, the prosecutor, the sheriff, all the boys who incorporated, who take all your money and then split it instead of paying off the national debt. They put puts against the national debt in their documentation. They never pay one dime. They open that trap door to Mother England, and all the money gets drained overseas. And why do we have this national debt of, what, $18 trillion now? Are you starting to get the picture, people? The corporate court, that's the pseudo-corporate court. His jurisdiction is corporations, not individuals. Color law fraud. The United States flag is our flag. It doesn't have gold fringe around it. It doesn't have a ball, a spear, or an eagle over the top of it, because once you put any one of those three things over the top of your flag, you change the jurisdiction of the court or the country or the organization it represents. So when you go into court, two flags should be flying there. One is the U.S. Court of Peace, and the other is a standard U.S. flag without any gold fringe, without anything over top like a spear, a tassel, anything like that. None of it. And you, as a bloodline American, demand of the court, it is a constitutional court ran by a constitutional judge with a constitutional oath of office. Other than that, you're being frauded. That judge, prosecuting attorney, at all are committing color of law fraud against you. Because if you walk into any court with a gold fringe flying in that courtroom anywhere, that is either a U.S. War flag. If it's a gold fringe goes all the way around the flag, that is a U.S. war flag. And if it's gold fringe on three sides, that is a martial law court. And that martial law court falls under Executive Order 10834 by Dwight David Eisenhower. And in that Executive Order, Eisenhower plainly states that it carries a 1-year prison term to misuse this flag, and it also represents military manual. The gold fringe flag is a parade flag for the U.S. military. It is not to be flown in any public building, any church, any library, any governor's office. Are you comprehending what I'm saying, people? So if you walk across a gold-fringed American flag, you should be able to go out there and grab the nearest police officer and walk into that building and say, who's the trustee of this building? And you can throw that individual into jail for 1 year. I have an introduction here to what is known as your grand jury. And it says, for a short time you will, as a juror, serve as an officer of the court, along with the lawyers and the judges. As a juror, you are a part of the judicial system of our state, and your services are as important as those of the judge. The judge's duty is to correctly instruct you as to the law in each case. You are required to base your verdict upon the evidence as you hear it in court and upon the law as the judge instructs you. Jurors are obligated to perform this service honestly and conscientiously without fear or favor. If you are selected to sit as a trial or petit juror on a case, you will serve until that case is completed. And if you are not selected as a juror, your service will be completed at the end of 1 day. So the judge, by telling the jury the law that they are practicing in that case, cannot change it. Criminal law, civil law, whatever, corporate law, whatever it is, in that case, you cannot change it. But what normally happens when these judges are in criminal cases, the minute they get up and walk out of the court and come back, they are under a new set of laws, new set of rules, new set of this, that, and the other thing. They are con artists. Believe me, they are professional con artists. And I hope we have judges who are listening to that, because you prove me wrong. I'm not buying it. I've been through the system too many times, and I'm not going to take your crap anymore. So there you have it. And I hope you did learn something tonight from my input. Back to you, Ed. Hello, Ed. Hello?
Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I just had myself muted while you were talking because I was getting my dishes set up here.
Oh, okay. Why does anybody have any comments or questions as to what I just covered? Do we want to go to Q&A?
Yeah, we could do that right now, and then we'll come back because I got a few other things I want to get into, but we'll get into that one after we do this because this is where we want to go with the court. So you guys start realizing that it's like if you file a federal court case, it's like what happened with me. I filed a $50 million court case against the city. Then all of a sudden I got summons to be a federal juror. I thought that was interesting. Timing.
I do have one more thing to add here as to a person that qualifies for jury service is one who is not under prosecution for any crime or has been convicted in the state, any federal court, or any other state, territory, or county, or bribery, forgery, perjury, larceny, or any other offense that is a felony in this state, or that, if it has been committed in this state, would be a felony unless the person's civil rights have been restored. There's a little booklet out called Handbook for Jurors. And I would suggest you all get a copy of it so that if you're ever called to jury duty, you at least have a heads up on what goes on. And this is produced by the Bar Association. My, oh my, oh my, oh my, oh my. Isn't it funny that the bar, the British Accreditation Register, is telling the jury what law they're going to practice in court? Read the preamble to the Constitution, and the next time you are called to jury duty, ask the court, the judge, clerk of court, whomever, why are we practicing British law in this country? Preamble of the Constitution, last paragraph says we are to have nothing to do with the British government. So why are we practicing their laws, their statutes, their codification, their terms, their blah, 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 blah bullshit? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And if the judge leaves the bench and comes back, the first question out of the defendant's mouth should be, okay, judge, now what law are we practicing against me now? They will not want to deal with you very long in that court.
No. And the other point, too, that you all need to pay attention, 80% of the TV shows today are from England. Isn't that interesting? All the late-night talk shows, all from Canada and England. We haven't had an American talk show host since, 25 years?
All you have to do is listen to the accent.
Mm-hmm.
And the attitude. Especially if they're Democrats and favor the democratic policy in this country to the democracy. The fact that they want a democracy is treason against the Constitution. And I have told Trump time and time and time again in emails and letters and faxes, the minute these people talk democracy in the United States, instead of the Republic, and the Republican forms of government guaranteed to every state. They need to have criminal charges of treason filed against them. I have not received one word back from Trump.
Well, neither have I, but I watched some of the changes. At least he's got the people being firing them for not registering.
That's right. And I believe you and I sent him that little act, didn't we, Ed?
Oh, I know for a fact we did, and we sent it to the House and Senate. We made it publicly known all over their Facebook sites. Even Miss Little Princess Warren they call Pocahontas.
So we have as many people in the Congress of the United States guilty of treason as we do judges, lawyers, and attorneys, because what, half of them or more than half of them are lawyers and attorneys who aren't even supposed to be running for the office that they're holding?
That's a treason, beheading offense.
You got that right. America, you had better wake up. If you have the Constitution of the United States sets the term limit for the office of president, the office of the Senate, the office of the House, all of them. One term, 2 years for Congress, I think 4 or 6 for the Senate. I forgot which one it is.
Yeah, I forgot what it is. I put it out in our instruments. It's there.
But anyway, there's the term limit. It doesn't say you're to be a career politician. Once that guy served his term and he runs for public office again, you don't vote for him. Period.
Not supposed to be voting for lawyers.
And you should never vote for anybody who's an attorney or a lawyer. Why do you think the lawyers got kicked out of the Great Britain? Because of their shenanigans. And where did they end up? Oh, the good old USA. Go read history. Don't take my word for it. Go research it like I did. Any questions?
Q&A session has started.
In order to get into the queue for Q&A, just hit *61 and please try to keep it short for other people's or other callers' questions. This is only going to go for so long on the show, so be respectful of each other.
Thank you. So, who would like to be the first one to raise their voice? I know somebody's got a comment out there.
Hey, Ed.
Floor is yours.
Go ahead.
Yes. Y'all said that if the lawyers or judges do not file FAR, is there any way to find that, to find out if they have filed, and if they have not, would their rulings be null and void?
Yes, you have to file on that. And also, too, there's a filing that you can get out of Washington, D.C. I put up. We'll have to get on the website. We'll be working on that to set it literally on the website permanently. That you can file with them in Washington, D.C., the Judicial Fitness Committee in Washington, D.C., okay, has actual forms that they have pre-written up on the attorneys and judges that basically they're already pre-written up. All you have to do is file them, put your autograph on it. I don't recommend signature because I don't do signatures because I'm lawful. If you are a legal citizen, do a signature. Don't get caught up with these men and women going, oh, if you're born here, you have rights. No, you don't. You have to be 5 or more generations to have rights. This is what's been coming out. They've proven it in 2 other court cases. So, it's knowing your standing, and yes, you can file on them on that. That's absolute. And so, like I said, we'll have that. I'll be working on getting that up sometime this week on our new .Oregon Tracker site.
Okay. Also, I have one other question. You said that when the police, or David said that when the police pull you over and that they go through the Miranda rights and they ask you if you understand, if you say yes, does that mean that you're actually under their jurisdiction then?
Absolutely. And you always ask them when you get pulled over like Dave does, what's your emergency? How can I help you? Then they're going to say, well, I need to say your registration and ID. Oh, no, where's the injured party? How can I help you? You had your lights on. What's your emergency? How can I assist you? It's always being polite. Okay, and then I'll let Dave speak up on this point after I'm done. But you always want to be polite, number one. And when they start raising your voice and all this, going, why are you so angry? I'm not used to hearing somebody being angry as you for what? I just asked you what your emergency is. How can I help you? Why are you angry? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Yes, Ed.
Yeah, thanks. Anyhow, Dave, you want to throw a comment into that one? I guess Dave doesn't want to throw a comment in there. Okay, but that's the whole point. You want to ask them what their emergency is. You always want to know what they are doing, what their responses are. You have to know their responses. That's the main thing. You have to know their responses.
And we do not want to say yes. We want to say, I comprehend.
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's the other point. When they start asking you questions, you don't respond saying, I know what you're talking about or whatnot. That's not where you get into any conversations like with these men and women on those points of view. And the other point is you always want to file your case before you get to court. Make sure you get it recorded in record. So that's the point. You want to make sure that you get it in record. If that makes sense.
Yes, it makes sense.
So, and that is the point that we've got to start working with each other on those things.
If I may, just the last question. Earlier y'all said that Supreme Court ruled that all courts are crooked and that there is no justice. Do you know which court case that was that ruled that, so I could look it up?
Dave, do you have that on record in front of you? David? Where did he go?
There, now you're on me.
There I am. Edward?
Oh, now we can hear you. Well, darn, what happened to you?
They had me muted.
Oh, I got that's okay. We got that one handled now.
Okay, now on New Oregon Trackers, I believe that information on that ruling by the court, the High Court, is already on our website, or one of the other three that we have. I know it's on Davidlee and then a space on your space bar, my last name BUESS. I know it's on that web page. But anyway, yeah, there's actually a video of it, and you can just click on the forward arrow and it'll run you through it.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Okay, I don't want you to go away here, because when you go to court and the bailiff gets up and says, this court is now in session, he has just committed fraud against you. And fraud upon the court, because if your case is lawfully being heard, the bailiff would make this statement. This court is now convened to hear the matter between the plaintiff and the defendant. Other than that, you did not get a fair trial.
Yep.
Now, there are important things also to remember during a trial. After you are sworn as a juror in a case, there are some rules of conduct that you should observe. Do not use electronic devices or social media during the trial. Now, why would that be? Aren't you entitled to public knowledge of what's going on in your case? Or is that so that the courts can control the news media to slander your name and make you look even more guilty? It says do not talk about the case using email, texting, blogging, or any other social media site. Do not use a cell phone, smartphone, or computer to look up information relating to the case. The judge will give you specific instructions on the use of electronic devices such as cell phones, smartphones, laptops, tablets. During a trial, the judge may require jurors to turn off electronic devices during court proceedings, remove their cell phones and electronic devices during deliberations, or removing the cell phone and electronic devices during all procedures and deliberations. If someone needs to contact you in case of an emergency, the judge will provide you the phone number to where that person may call and receive messages. If the trial judge allows you to keep your cell phone or other electronic device, you cannot use them to take photographs, video recordings, or audio recordings of the proceedings in the courtroom or your fellow jurors. Now let's see, if someone were recording this beside the court, what guarantees do we have if we can't record them? What guarantees do we have that the court isn't altering court documents, which they do on a regular basis? So you see how they make the rules for just us and not justice? This is how their handbook for jurors.
Well, I got to verify something, not to interrupt you, Dave. Not like I've never done that before. We've done that to each other. But apparently the Supreme Court just came out, and I hope this is really true, because I filed some instruments on the behalf of these circumstances, too, and everybody knows they put it all over. The Supreme Court came out and said that the pipeline, what does it say? The pipeline approval violates the law of the Indian nation.
And here's one for you, Ed. I got, this is... the minute you receive any lawful action, affidavit, it is a fact recorded, okay? You go down to Part 3 of this, and it says supporting facts. The Supreme Court ruled and reaffirmed that the principles must satisfy the appearance of justice. Levin versus United States, 32 U.S. 610, 80, second. 1038, 1960, City of Offutt versus United States, 384 U.S. 11, 1475, Second Circuit, 11, 13, 1954. So if we don't have the appearance of justice in your case, which we obviously aren't getting, that pretty much tells me that, oh, gee, it's just us, not justice.
You know, and that's the one thing I love saying, because people say, Jesus! Well, right, it is just us. Jesus, just us. Think about that one for a minute.
Here's another part on part 4 of this document, Ed. It says, as it is a federal offense of failure to disclose a felony, it coupled with same act to conceal the felony, such as supersession of evidence or suppression of evidence, harboring or protecting the person performing the felony, intimidation or harming a witness, or any other act designed to conceal from authorities the fact that a crime has been committed. Whosoever having knowledge of an actual commission of a felony and cognizable by the court of the United States conceals evidence and does not as soon as possible make known the same to some judge or person pertaining to authority or government official as part of the judge mandatory administrative duty to receive any offer of information is a federal crime, and blocking a report that blocked is a felony and falls under obstruction of justice statute. The constitutes as a serious offense under that activity, as whosoever, whether or not, is an act under color of law. So how much evidence do we need when you make a motion in court and the court denies you your motion?
Where's the call again?
Are you there, Ed? Hello? Hello? Hello?
I heard him respond, but then...
Hello?
I can hear you, Dave. It's evidently snoozing.
Okay, well, something's going on because I've been cut off the show 3 times already.
Well, I don't know. We've been hearing you this whole time. When we went into Q&A, I looked at you, and you weren't even on the board, so I waited.
Well, I got cut off. Twice I've been completely cut off, and I thought I was cut off again.
Okay.
So what am I saying that whoever the powers to be that are doing this crap don't want us to put this information out on the air? It's their writing. They wrote it. We quote it.
Exactly. Oh, he's not snoozing anymore. Okay. Should we go to the next question?
Yes, by all means.
Dave, if I may, we went through all that. We went through an ex parte letter to the judge. We had a copy of the letter to the judge, an affidavit of fact that it was a true and authentic copy of the letter. It was written CC to the prosecuting attorney and the guardian ad litem and the judge, and they held it in secret and acted upon it in secret, overtly. And then when it's put before the West Virginia State Police, they refused to accept charges against the actors of the state. When it's put before the West Virginia Supreme Court, they refused to hear it. And when it was put before the 4th District Federal Court, they separated the affidavits from the case, said the case was frivolous without the case. I yield.
How much more evidence do we need relating to what they're doing? They are protecting each other like a bear would to her cub. Okay, supporting facts. Here's Rule 201, judicial notice of
Facts.
Of facts and Rule 405, method of proving character. So those two things you need to put down in your little book, Rule 201 and Rule 405. That's 201E, a round bracket, small letter E, on judicial notice, and then Rule 405, method of proving character. So we have, I agree with the Supreme Court. The judges, lawyers, attorneys, unregistered foreign agents, if they're a member of the bar or they have any part to do with it, they are unregistered foreign agents. And you have a mistrial.
Mm-hmm. And also, too, you have to make sure it's filed with the clerk. And then
if I may?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I filed it with the clerk. I've got a copy stamped, received September 3rd, 2014. I've got another copy says filed September the 22nd of 2014. And then I've got an order dismissing the whole thing without cause.
Right, but you didn't take it to the federal court in Washington, D.C. or Philadelphia, and you didn't...
That's what's going to have to happen now. That's what's going to have to happen now, but I'm still figuring out how to do that. You know, right now I've lost my glasses and I can't see squat, so I can't file anything. But,
Dollar sells glasses. I know. I buy them for $1 all the time.
I know, but they don't sell them with two different prescriptions of lenses. I'll have new ones on the 25th.
Yeah, no, on that one, you know.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, those affidavits, by the way, were brought under Evidence Rule 301, and nobody ever addressed them. The 14 days is long since passed. So, yeah, what do you do? It's going to have to go to Philadelphia.
Right.
Because otherwise, and I'm still dealing with this joke down here with the VA too. They don't recognize that there's two constitutions. They have gone so far as to tell me if we force you to do something under duress, if we force you to volunteer, you volunteered.
Mm-hmm.
So if we force you to volunteer, say what?
It's actually fraud.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the lady or man who told you that, you need their name and you need to file the charges on them personally. And you serve it through the administration of that agency.
Well, I'm going to go on there with that EO on the flag on the 24th and start in on them.
You definitely want to do it through the administration on them.
Yeah.
You know, because administration, that's the only way they get the funding, because, like I said, they were just discussing about cutting their funding again, and this is where people are not comprehending, and this is where I've been trying to explain this to some of the agencies. Once you lose your funding, you could never retain it back. It is done, gone, and you're done with.
Yeah, well, the policy man down there tells me he's a law enforcement officer, but he knows nothing of law. So he's enforcing policies for the VA, for the federal corporation. He didn't even know there is a federal corporation. Just totally ignorant of his position, totally ignorant of his job, and they don't recognize that they're public servants either. So, and they don't recognize the First Amendment, the right to petition the government for the redress of grievance. Mm-hmm. They think that they are a dictatorship, having a right to bully about the people as though they were all citizens. And they don't know the difference between a citizen and a lawful bloodline American either.
That's a statement.
Say what? That's an understatement. Yeah. Yeah. Well, anyway, I'm gonna get off here and let somebody else speak. But it's still going on. And especially here where there's no record allowed. There's no record allowed here. By the way, the VA allows no recording devices either.
Oh, that's not always true. You sneak them in. You put them in your pocket. You don't tell them. When you go to the bar, you don't tell them.
Well, they got a big sign up front that says.
I don't care what the sign says. You own the building. I go in courts and stuff with cameras and stuff, and they tell me I don't care what their sign says. There's a sign out there to affect me.
When you write your case up, you make sure you document it with all the rulings, relating to the subject matter, the articles, the rule, all that. Constitutional stuff. Yeah. Go ahead.
Their technique was to just allow access to the court, disallow access to the court.
Well, sure, and that's fraud. That falls under that's treason against their oath.
I know it is, and you know it is, but
you have to file the paperwork on them doing that.
Well, I did file the paperwork within the local system. I have to file it in Philadelphia because it doesn't do any good to file it here.
Well,
it's just like going to one jackal about the other jackal.
That's the trouble with all state courts and the sheriffs and all of them. They enforce the code. They don't enforce the law because they don't know the law. They're taught code.
That's true. And they get upset when you call them policy people.
That's right.
That's what they do is enforce policy.
That's right.
You're a policy man. You're not an officer of the law. You're a policy man.
28 U.S. Well, I always call them corporation. How are you today, corporation?
Yeah, well, I call them policy men, and they get upset about it. And when I talk to this Mr. Irons down here, I ask him, "How's it going today, Mr. Executive Administrator?"
Oh.
And he trots away promptly when I ask him, "How's it going today, Mr. Executive Administrator?"
Mm-hmm.
I smiled at him and asked him, "How's it going today, Mr. Executive Administrator?" And he doesn't want to talk to me.
Right.
But I've shook his tree quite a few times, about all the leaves are off his tree now. But I'm coming back.
Hitting him pretty soon. It may dawn on him what he's doing.
Well,
know.
He's going through a case of beer every night now.
Oh, a case of beer every night. Whoopee,
yeah.
Good.
Say what?
I say whoopee goody.
Yeah, that's where he's at in his life now, a case of beer a night.
Yeah, Section 2072B, such rules shall be abridged, enlarged, and modified any substantial right. All laws in conflict with such rules shall be of no further force or effect after such rules have taken effect. Now, you got to remember the 16th American Jurisprudence, Section 177, second edition. Excuse me, I forgot that, so I'm going to repeat it. What's that?
Such rules may be defined. What you were talking about?
No.
Oh.
The 16th American Jurisprudence, second edition, Section 177, any law written in violation of this Constitution is as though it were never written, and no one is obligated to obey it. So it's in their writings that anything unconstitutional is null and void.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's been 11 challenges of jurisdiction based on denial of due process of law, and they've ignored them all.
Right.
Guilty of treason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I used U.S. versus Will. They ignored it.
That's fine. But here again, you now can take them into civil court and sue them for breach of public trust, honest service fraud, oath of office, treason.
Yeah. Well, I'll let somebody else get on here, but that's the way it's been going, without a record.
I agree. I'm not arguing with you at all, but I'm just trying to bring out some additional facts that maybe, something will actually work for a change for us.
Well, in the meanwhile, the baby that was taken is now 4 years old.
Damn. Must be dealing with Children's Protection Service.
I'm dealing with a hired complaining witness.
Oh, well, yeah. That would be fraud.
She was hired to be the complaining witness, and she was paid to be the complaining witness, even though she'd never seen the mother, the baby, or the backpack she described. And then she got another bonus for completing the adoption. And we were held outside of the adoption under abuse and neglect after the defendant was dead. We were held as the defendant, and they carried on adoption in secret in another case number.
Of course. That's called human trafficking.
Yes, it is.
Identity theft.
Yeah.
Inland piracy. Children's Protection Service are criminal from the beginning to the end.
And they're protected by the corporations, and the corporations are drawing 3-to-1 federal funding for their acts under executive orders of Bill Clinton.
When the judges are receiving $125,000 for every kid they take out of the house and another $125,000 for adoption, oh gee, I wouldn't consider that conflict of interest, would you?
I most certainly would, but finding somebody to do something about it, it has to be in Philadelphia or D.C., or it isn't going to happen at all.
Yeah, I would file into the U.S. Court of Claims and see what luck you have there. If not, then take them to World Court under civil rights.
Yeah. Well, I've got enough proof to choke an elephant, but it doesn't do any good unless somebody will look at it.
Yeah.
I've got hundreds of affidavits. But anyway, I'll let you go. And most all those evidence rules, those affidavits were brought under Evidence Rule 301. They were given their 14 days to confirm or deny, or became a fact of law. And none of them have been denied, but they have been highly ignored. Anyway, I'll let you go.
Yeah, and I have affidavits out there on the websites that you can look at. Yeah, and I agree with you. They just ignore whatever you put out because they think they are the government. They are not the government. They're the elected and public servant. And you need to remind them of that when you get into court. You work for me. I don't work for you. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And I don't care how snotty they get with me. I'm going to say, hey, if you don't comprehend it, get off the bench. You're reclused as an idiot.
Well, and the other valid point with that one, too.
You're definitely not the judge. You're an administrator.
You can find that under FE versus GE.
Thank you for that.
Well, and the other point is, this is what I'm trying to get people to comprehend, is filing and autographing each other's instruments. Now, Dave and I have filed numerous instruments. I have personally watched things get changed by the Senate and House through that. Like, everybody's going nuts. The state of Oregon and other states are following, legalizing morphine or heroin and meth and cocaine. Well, it's personal use. If you want to kill yourself, I don't want to hear it. Go kill yourself. It's that simple. You know, and I mean, I tell people that all the time. I've been in the industries. I've watched this happen. I've been around this stuff a lot of my life in the professional industry. And it's simple. If you don't want to be responsible, don't be responsible. Quit bitching.
Yeah.
You know, it's that simple. And if the parents fail, because I mean, I watch parents all the time that go after the kids. Oh, man, my kid's doing drugs, and we ought to pass a law to do this about the kids. Because you failed as a parent, don't blame the rest of the world for your problems because you didn't have the education, you didn't have the knowledge, you didn't stand up to do and protect your child, so how come you're blaming somebody else for what you failed? I'm not saying anybody specifically, but what I'm saying is how that comes down to realistically. You know, because people fail themselves, and then they want to blame somebody else for their problems. You know, and I mean, we've all been through that growing up and going through these things. Life is a real learning experience. That is the point. It is a learning experience. And the point with the knowledge that we're passing around, we want to make sure the kids got it now when they're younger instead of when they get older. If they comprehend it now when they're older, they won't go through the problems that some of us have gone through because we didn't have the knowledge. And we didn't have the fortitude of how to stand up and respond to it. We didn't have people to stand behind us because we know majority of families, they run and hide. They don't want to be involved. You know, so I mean, it is standing up. That's the whole point. It is standing up and doing this stuff so it's done correctly.
I'll tell you this, Ed. When they kill your child, I need to cover up all the evidence. When they jail the mother while they cover up the evidence of the daughter's death.
I think I don't know that. Both of my kids are dead.
Yeah.
Oh, I do know. That has a lot to do why I do a lot of things I do. But I don't get into that stuff about what I lost because I know what it's like. I know what it's like when, you know, I called the doctor up and told him if I didn't have this information in a certain period of time, I'm going to be on his doorstep. And he's telling me, oh, so you threatening me? I said, I ain't threatening you. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. 48 hours, I had that stuff hand-delivered, paid-delivered to my door in 48 hours. I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you what I'm going to do. Cop can't arrest you for telling you something, telling a man or woman what you're going to do. Even if you do it, they can't really arrest you for it because you told them, and if they're protecting your body, your assets, your circumstances, there ain't no crime. I'm not advocating going out and doing something. I'm advocating to know your rights and how to stand up to it. I've been there. You know, I mean, I would be celebrating what? One of my kids at, what is it, you know, 33rd birthday. The other one, 29. So I know. Yeah. I've been there. I know the feeling. I know the pain.
More callers waiting on the list.
All right, go ahead, next caller.
Hello?
Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Hey, yeah, I went to court today. I got reset of my court date for next Monday. I filed a certain martial law flag filing that you gave me into the court structure today as well. Well, actually, I just said, here you go. You might want to change that flag up.
Oh, so in other words, you didn't go to jail?
No, I did not go to jail.
Oh, so it starts making it up when you start looking at how it starts coming together.
Yeah. So I made the amends. I said, I apologize. There's been stuff going on in my life, and I thought my court date was today. But when I was preparing the case, I saw, it says the different day. It says last Wednesday anyway. I got to yield.
That's a good sign. So that's the whole point, is paying attention. You know? So, and now don't forget to follow through with the other structure and the stuff you got. Don't forget to try to get that entered before you go to court. You know, because I know you have that information, and so go through it and sit down and think about how to put it together. Does that make sense?
808 area code, you're on.
Okay.
Hey guys, thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
Speak up.
Yeah. I just wanted to give my condolence to the previous caller and Ed yourself. I mean, I couldn't imagine the grief that you guys are going through with that kind of struggle. It makes my dilemma seem pretty petty, but nonetheless, we all have our struggles. I was curious if the gentleman who is struggling with child custody, if he had filed his paperwork, his status paperwork, but of course he's probably not on the phone right now. But anyway, I have filed my paperwork, and I was explaining to you guys last week a little bit that my ex is dragging me into court this the end of the month here, wanting to eliminate any chance of visitation and that with my offspring. And I was listening a little bit to Ed talking about the 48 states. Now, I know the other states he's leaving out are likely Alaska and Hawaii, and I just wanted to see if there was some explanation to how those differ in terms of, you know, a person residing in those states, if they need to, if you have any advice as to how they might act differently than the rest of the 48.
Okay, what state are you referring to, Alaska or Hawaii?
Hawaii.
Hawaii. Okay. Hawaii is interesting because Hawaii actually separated from the corporation and became its own island 2 years ago. And I think people, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm listening to you.
I didn't hear what you. So you said 2 years ago the Hawaii Kingdom or
the Hawaii government separated from America the corporation. Hawaii came in 1959, and they came registered under the corporation of Hawaii of the United States. So they're not a state of the Union.
Okay. And so then, you know, am I doing myself any good by filing as a state citizen, American national, residing in Hawaii?
Wait a minute. Do you know what an American national is?
Well, my understanding is that it's a lawful bloodline American who dates back to the Civil or Revolutionary War.
American national, and if you read Executive Order 2040, FDR clearly states any citizen or a national, American national, is an enemy to the country.
Oh, to the U.S. or?
The United States of the 48 states. They're enemies to we the people. That's Executive Order 2040.
Oh, okay. So,
do you know how far your bloodline goes back?
Well, I know it goes back to the War of Independence.
Oh, well, if you're going back that far, you would definitely say you're definitely a bloodline American, because the Supreme Court states 1888 was a foundation of lawful bloodline Americans, so that way they could separate that. Are you on Facebook by any chance?
Yeah, and I did. I sent you a note on Facebook, but through the message. So I was just wondering if there's a better way or a different way to contact you.
Well, send me another message. I'll give you our deal, and then I'll give you another way to contact me. Because in our letter, I have that information that I put out with our letter for the talk show, with all that, including Executive Order 2040, the executive order, spelled out, and then that even ties up to 42 USC 408 Section D and A and D. And if you haven't read 48 USC 408, you need to read that. 42 USC 408 Section A and D. If you've never read it, you need to read it.
42, 42 US 42.
42 USC 408 Section A and Section D.
B like boy or D like dog?
D like dog. A is apple, D like dog.
Okay. Okay, I'll check that out. I appreciate that.
Ed, here's some more information on you. In this court case, U.S. versus Lindsay Springer, 08-278, 09 CR 043. Now I'll repeat that. U.S. versus Lindsay Springer. 08-278, 09 CR for criminal 043, and this is a ruling of the court. The people are not derived from the government, as the government's authority comes from the people. Without revenue districts, there is no delegation of authority.
Without what? I'm sorry?
I didn't hear that.
You said without relevance or without something?
Oh, without revenue districts. There is no delegation of authority. And they're talking about the IRS here. The revenue officer or revenue agents are not the Secretary of the Treasury, nor are the commissioners of the Internal Revenue Service, and states' rights treaties do not supersede the Constitution.
Okay.
It's important for you to comprehend what exactly all of that means. When you go to court, the judge gets cocky with you, you quote that to him. And then there's another one you want to quote to him is U.S. versus not Springer, no. Doggone it, why can't I remember that guy's last name?
That's not either.
Lloyd R. Long, when it comes to taxes, if you're going into a tax case, United States versus Lloyd R. Long. Mr. Long in federal district court in Tennessee was found not guilty when his attorney, Larry B. Kraft, proved to the federal jury the 16th Amendment to the United States Constitution was never lawfully ratified. The 16th Amendment to the Constitution is fraud in the inducement.
Okay, that sounds good for, like you said, for taxes, tax law and stuff like that, because that's the other side of this whole thing.
Right.
You know, they're using our money against us. Now, here's what I'm going to try to do outside of the advice that you guys may have for me is, it sounds like some other people have had similar luck, and maybe you guys want to comment for or against, but where these people are struggling with the child protection services, they're coming in and claiming their status as a man or a woman and demanding their property return because...
Right, but they have to file their property rights. You can't demand without it being in writing and file before you get to court.
And what would that look like, Ed?
Okay, well, that depends on each individual circumstances, and I got some templates. I haven't finished on it. I am working on it. But I have to know the circumstances, and I could give you some information on that, on the way we could do it. Okay, because I'm dealing with that with a few cases right now, and I'm trying to get people to comprehend how to file it and not be afraid, because when you're filing your blood rights, it's knowing if you're lawful or legal. All right, that's the main point people don't comprehend. And I argue with people all the time. Says, I was born here, or I might have been here. My mom was born here. I was born here. And I said, so you're second generation. You're legal. You're not lawful. Oh, no, I was born here, so that makes me an American. And it does not make you an American. It even says that in the actual Constitution. And that's where people don't get it. They don't read the Constitution because the Democrats have been whining this crap out since the 1970s, going, if you're born here, and don't forget, Carter was the one that was the worst one on this one, because Carter was the one who opened up for Cuba to come in, and he's the one who got the Cubans getting Social Security cards and got the Cubans that came to this country on Social Security disability when they never paid in the system.
Nice, huh?
And this is where people don't get this. The Democrats have done a lot of horrendous stuff in this country against we the people. So, go ahead.
So then anyway, what I've done is I've filed a notice of a private trust, and then what someone else has suggested is that when I go into this court case, that I file basically the same statement. This is a notice of a private trust, and any third party wishing to interfere will be seen as a third party interloper and will be held liable.
Right, but the third party is, who's the third party? Are you fighting the woman that you had the child with? Are you fighting the state corporation? Are you fighting what, grandma, grandpa, who?
Well, no, I mean the trust is between myself and the mother, and so the third party interloper would be the court or the judge, I guess in this case, or her attorney.
Okay, but see what I'm saying is that you guys are at odds, I take it.
Well, I mean, she just, she's holding the kids hostage, yeah.
Well, that's what I said. You guys are at odds. So we know how women could be. No offense to the woman listening on the show, listening to us, but men could be the same way too. They get to this point where we're going to sit there and play a tug of war because I didn't like what you did, so I'm coming back after you, and they don't realize how much that even hurts the child. Right. I mean, I can relate to that because my father wasn't part of my life growing up. Came back in trying to say he was part of, like he wasn't there. I don't want to hear it. And then all of a sudden it's like, trying to get part of my life and say that he was part of my life. Hey, he made the decision not be there, so I don't want to hear it.
Well, and that's what's happening. Is that, a part of these children's lives.
Sorry, we had changed phones.
Yeah, no problem. No, but see, I mean, it's really messing up with the kid's mind because, see, I was fortunate when my dad was there. He didn't want to be part of our life, so I never took it personal.
Right. Well, and there's where a little bit of the rub is for me is that I've tried to be a good father with these children and support them financially and just as a father and with their activities and camping and just teaching them and so forth and so on. But anyway, what I'm seeing now is that they're learning that this idea of might makes right, and and all this stuff is the way to be, and I wouldn't be so adamant about trying to regain custody if I felt like they were getting some if I didn't feel like they were being harmed, but I just see this as a
their education being going down the tube.
Yes, exactly. They're becoming corrupted is what's happening, and so this is my plan. At least the first swing is to at least make the threat to the court, or as you said, maybe not a threat, but this is what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to hold you personally liable because you're interfering in a private trust. And, no matter whether the legal system has deemed us divorced or not, we made a promise, to each other in front of witnesses. And here, you're trying to take the whole wad, and so I don't know. Do you guys, do you see any
final?
I'm sorry, what did you say, Ed?
Is your divorce final?
Yeah, it's complete.
Because when you do a divorce, that's a contract too, and when you get married, that's a contract too.
Right. But I mean, those are the legal side of it, or But
look on it. They do have legal repercussions in those contracts that you could act on as a man on them.
I didn't quite understand that.
I said you could act on those contracts because you're the man on the contract. She's the woman. You guys entered into a legal contract. You didn't do it constitutionally.
And so, the other suggestion was, and people have had success, is to go in and claim, your status as a man. So in other words, outside the statutes and codes, and then claim your property. And so I understand that some people have had luck that way. But I've sent her affidavits, and I'm trying to kind of build my case slowly. And then now all of a sudden she's kind of turned it on me, and she's dragging me back into court and trying to use the divorce court as a way to justify not denying me visitation. On a little different subject, Now,
are you paying child support?
Yeah. Yes, I am.
How come you're paying child support? How come you're not paying it directly to the children?
I am paying it directly to the children.
Well, that's not child support per se, because I call child support legally, not the other way what people go by.
Yeah, well, what would your suggestion be?
Well, I mean, you're not sending it to the state where the state's sending it to them, are you?
No, and in fact, I had filed my paperwork, my status paperwork, right about the time she was making a complaint for some reason, because I asked her how she was spending the money, and I wanted some itemized billing. I wanted to know how she was spending the money, and so then she sicked the child support people on me, and so I filed on them. Then they sent me a $3,000 bill, even though I'd been paying what was required. And so then
when you get that $3,000 bill, you send them back a bill for $30,000 trying to embezzle from you.
That's a good one. I didn't think of that, but what I did do was I talked to them over the phone, and I did eventually
put in writing. Never ever, when they call you up on the phone, never ever have conversations with these men and women on the phone ever. Always in writing, because when you go to court or you go to one of the sessions, they'll change it. They'll rewrite it.
Yeah, I get it. Well, I did send them a notice of estoppel. I sent to this director of child support services But I'll tell you what, when she asked me the question, and I sent the superior judge or the chief judge, I sent him notice of estoppel, the local cops, and attorney general and the deputy attorney general. I sent them all notice of estoppel, letting them know who I am and that they have no rights. So, or they have no authority over me. But, and this is kind of getting to my second question, but I'll tell you what, it never felt so good to be able to, when that woman asked me, where do you work? You know, she's wanting to get information about me, to tell her to piss up a rope because it's none of her business. And she said, well, do you, and then she asked me another question like, well, do you work for yourself? And I just repeated myself. I said, it's none of your damn business. And the joy that I got from dismissing her, I can't express it, you know. And so then, just to finish that little story out, was I explained to her that she had no authority, and then eventually I got an affidavit stating that I was all paid up, and then eventually they resent me the bill, and it made it look like I had paid the $3,000, which I hadn't sent them anything. So they zeroed.
Don't argue with it, because if they wrote it off, they're paying it through the trust account.
Yeah, well, I don't know how they're doing it, but anyway, they didn't.
That's what they're doing, is they're paying it through the trust account.
So now they're fraud, right?
Not exactly, because you're not supposed to be paying for it. They wanted the system. They're supposed to be paying for it out of the trust account. Because you shouldn't be paying child support, because if you're lawful, it's under your trust account.
Yeah, well, and there's where there's some differing of opinion, right? Where, some people are saying that that really, if we're relying on that trust account, now we're a part of the benefit, so then we fall into the section.
No, it's not a benefit. This is where people are confused. Social Security is not a benefit. It's a right entitlement. Social Security is a private corporation of we the people. It is not a government agency. The same thing with the whole structure. It is not a government agency.
Okay, so come back to this this point, and maybe you guys can help clear this up for me a little bit. So, like, I was listening to Al Barncroft, I think it was. He was talking about the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, and his statement was that he thought that was the only way we could be free as Americans, similar to what I think you guys are saying, which is that, we need to file and we need to establish our status.
Right.
And so the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, if that's true, it applies to us. It's saying that, that those foreign sovereigns are immune from state and federal courts. Now, what if I actually committed a harm against somebody else? Then where does that, how does that come about? Or what, is that a different court system? Is that a constitutional court, or what? Is there any explanation for that, I guess?
Well, that depends on that. Dave, you want to speak up on that before I go, or what? David? All I heard was something.
What I could add to what you guys have already brought out. I know social services stink. They hire people to bring false witness. They go into your house to look around to see what you have. They can even charge you with having excessive food, which we know has happened in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't, anything to these people say, do they ever do it under an affidavit, under penalty of perjury? There's your clue right there.
Right. All hearsay.
It's all hearsay.
Well, that makes sense. And just, but the question was, I don't know if you heard, was that if we're relying on the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act to separate ourselves out of the state and federal courts, what if we've actually caused a harm to another individual? Then where does that, what happens? I mean, and I haven't done that, and I don't plan on doing that, but I'm just trying to get an understanding of, certainly there's some limitations as to the immunity side of that, or am I just, all off track on this thing?
Well, they don't have immunity. Trust me, they do not have immunity.
No, but I'm saying...
there's enough court cases. There's enough court cases out there to prove that CPS does not have immunity from prosecution.
No, but I'm talking about foreign sovereigns, so like lawful bloodline Americans that are foreign to the U.S. A bloodline American is a sovereign. Okay.
The Supreme Court ruled that men and women are sovereigns, governments aren't. Governments are the creation of black ink on white paper. They have no bloodline. They have no... basically, the only power they have is what the people actually gave them in administrative rules.
Okay. So, but now, and so in the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act, it states that those lawful bloodline Americans or the foreign sovereigns foreign to the U.S., the United States Corporation, as we know it, that those people are immune to state and federal courts. Is that your understanding of it, or?
Well, here, if you give an order to show cause why defendant should not be sanctioned for fraud upon the court under the court's inherent contempt powers. In other words, you're telling the court, you pray to the court, the honorable court, to deny the claimant's motion to dismiss and motion to sanction, etc. The defendant had trespassed upon the property, okay?
Which is his property.
Right.
And if once you've trespassed upon a property, anything that happens after that point is the same as fraud.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if he stole your property or not. That's grand theft. Your children, that's your asset. That's your property. A child's your property. The government didn't create it. It doesn't have the right to what? Give it a social security number?
Right. Yeah, and the other thing is someone pointed out, is that if my child breaks somebody's, they're not going to the state to collect.
Well, the big problem with the social security number being assigned is that in the birth certificate or certificate of live birth, they're creating you, the parent, as the trustee of the child. Okay, now they create a $630,000 bond at that birth, that certificate of live birth. The hospital sends a copy of that over to the county coroner, the health department, and a copy down to the Secretary of State, Department of Vital Statistics, and a birth certificate is issued. Copies going to the Census Bureau, your health department, back to your county health department, and your county coroner. Your county coroner, 3 days after he receives the birth certificate, he declares your certificate of live birth dead. What happens to your $630,000 bond?
It's not yours anymore, I guess.
They declared you dead. You don't claim it within, I forgot how many days. They steal the bond.
Ah. And then they chemtrail us.
And then they trade it as a commodity to profiteer from public office. They don't have the authority to do that. Why is that? Well, they weren't there at conception, were they?
Not that I remember.
There you go. People need to catch on to the fact that what these certificates of live birth and birth certificate are a con job.
Yeah.
So anyway, I wanted to finish this. The certificate of live birth gets sent to the Department of Commerce, and the Census Bureau. The Census Bureau creates a $1.2 million bond on the certificate of live birth. That's sold on D&B, that's traded on the Commodities Exchange, and the Federal Reserve System buys every one of them. Okay? Now that is used, without your knowledge and consent, to be the backing of the counterfeit Federal Reserve note.
Right.
The Federal Reserve note is worthless paper backed by nothing but your slave labor.
Okay. So, yeah. And so there again, like you say, they're co-opting you without your consent.
That's right. Now, so that Congress aided and abetting in fraud, they passed legislation declaring the citizen dead. Now they can steal both your certificate of live birth bond and your birth certificate. You have 30 days to claim that bond of either your husband, your wife, children, whatever.
And that
by law, they must pay you those bonds. People are not aware of the fact that you have a right to claim the bond.
In 30 days.
Yes, within 30 days.
You know about it, right?
And I did that with my wife over a year ago, sent it to the Department of Treasury. I didn't get as much as a response, but that was the time when the transition was taking place between the Democrats and the Republicans. So we had new administration people coming in all the time. So if the Democrat, who was the Attorney General at that time, decided to trash it, I'm not so sure the new Department of Treasury actually received the notification. So now I'm going to send him a notice of dishonor, and I will see what happens.
Dave and Ed, we still do have one more caller that jumped on, so.
Okay.
I yield. Thank you, gentlemen.
You're welcome. Did we answer your question?
Hi there. I've been booted off of here a few times tonight. This is Angie in Colorado.
Oh, hello, Angie.
Hi. Say, I sent to you and to Michelle today. I hope it went through. I tried again to send the notice for final judgment. Michelle had worked with me to help put that together. And I have, for my federal case in North Dakota, and I have receipt of the green certificate, the return receipt. They received that July 5th. So I guess my first question is, where to from here?
What happened?
Where do you go from here?
Yes. that's correct.
I'm not familiar with what information you put together for the sheriff. Was it a criminal complaint or what?
This wasn't for the sheriff. This was the judges in North Dakota who I filed a federal case again. They were served the summons March 21st, said that they had 21 days to reply or default would be taken against them, and not one person replied. There's like 13 or 14 total, and not one person replied. Michelle, help me with that notice for final judgment. I don't know. Michelle, are you still on?
How do I unmute it?
I'm sorry, I can barely hear you, hon.
She's here. Hold on.
Okay.
Hello.
Hi, Michelle.
Hi.
I'm kept trying to send to you that notice for final judgment that you helped me to build. And
okay.
Who?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
This is Angie in Colorado.
Oh, hi, Angie. How are you doing?
I'm good.
Hey,
I know. It's hard.
Yeah, the notice of final judgment.
Yes.
So I take it that okay. So you're trying to overdo the final judgment. Okay. What have you done in reference to the final judgment?
I did email you that to you, and I did send it to your message box and again to David's as well. No, not David. Edward's. I'm not sure.
Edward. Okay.
I'm not sure if David got tagged in that one or not, but I did do it, like we had discussed, and I sent that off. I faxed it. They wrote on there, "Hey, we can't take this via fax, blah blah blah." And I had also sent it priority return, certified return receipt. And
that's good. I'm glad to hear that you did that.
And they did receive it July 5th.
Okay, that's good. Kind of give me an idea. What did you say in the instrument then that you applied to the court on the motion to vacate the judgment?
Okay, I did not do a motion to vacate the judgment. Let me get my ducks in a row here. This one is for notice for final judgment for default.
Oh, okay. So you wrote a notice of default then?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. That's different. Okay, that's good. When they come out with their final ruling, that's when you would file the motion to vacate the judgment. Now, in your notice of default, when you wrote out your causes of action, did you request for in other words, did you indicate I move this court forward to dismiss on the causes of actions that you had listed?
Okay, I put, and I did email this to her. I hope it went through. I've been fighting with it. Move this court forward for final judgment. The above named individuals are my defendants. The defendants have not received. everybody offers for information? And how do you then piecemeal that apart? Does anybody have a trick or tips for piecemealing this apart into the right areas, or is that just simply creating an area maybe in a computer for each thing?
Yeah, I want to do a paper file for each thing.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, because I mean that's the one thing is a paper file for each thing. Because once you got each thing in a paper file, then you got something to go back to. And if you start putting it in a chronicle order, you know, you can start. You know, you'll figure out the way you need to put it, if that makes sense.
Okay, so just take my notes and then just piece it down to
right. Yeah,
proper areas.
That's what
gotcha.
I do. Is I mean. You know, I believe Michelle does the same thing. Dave does the same thing. We all do it. You know, we set our things up so this way we can come back and find it how we need to find it.
That's what I was wondering. Does anybody have any tricks for how to do this? Because I end up with a lot of notes. So, how do I put
Trust
this?
me, we all do. Trust me. You know, Michelle's got a stack of notes. I got one. I know Dave's got one. So it's just putting it in order so that way when you go back to look for them, you're not as confused as when you put it together.
Right. Yes. And I have so much in a notebook, and then I have 2 or 3 notebooks going, and I have old notebooks, so I just need to take the time and create paperwork for each topic, I would say. So.
Oh, all right. I'll get you that what Michelle sent me. That I will get that because I believe I still have your email.
Okay, and I did email you today, and I emailed Michelle also with, or I tried to send it again, that my paperwork. So.
Okay, I'll get that email what Michelle sent to me earlier to you, and then I'll email you my case that I filed on the governor that I got a call tomorrow to the state attorney general and the department in Washington D.C. because I'm trying to get this in court, and it is one of those things that. With that, because the state attorney general emailed me and goes, oh, you need to go hire an attorney. I can't wait till I finish this thing up and file it on the district at the state attorney general.
Well, you know what's kind of funny is I put the state attorney general in my claim.
Mm-hmm.
And also the Burleigh County State's attorney and the judges and their clerks for the court administrators. So, the North Dakota Attorney General Wayne Stenjum is mentioned and sued in my claim, and not a one responded.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that, Angela.
Now explain that, Michelle. Why are you glad to hear that? Because they're doing what? Failing in what?
Regarding my case or her case, Ed?
Case.
Well, they're failing because they're not doing their job.
That's right.
I'm not sure where you want me to go with that, Ed. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, yeah, they're not doing their job, and that is the one point. But now you're getting evidence to prove it. You're setting it up as you're going along.
Oh, okay. You're absolutely correct.
Oh, because you're making the paper trail for the circumstances.
That is true.
And if you don't do it, nobody else is going to do it. That's the point that I'm coming across. You know,
I agree.
Point. Go ahead.
I said I agree. Angela, are you using the Federal Rules, Civil Rules booklet to help you?
When I did that paper, yes, I did.
Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome.
You had provided a link to find it, and.
Okay, so you are using it. Now, if you have any questions about that program, don't be afraid to call me, because sometimes I don't get on my computer. So call me if you don't hear from me, okay?
Okay, I sure will. And yeah, I looked that up, and then when we had discussed everything like we did at length, I took notes, and
okay, good.
To get the terminology correct, so I placed that together with what I found, looking that up, and I just put that all together. So that's
okay, good. And when Ed sends you that email, that's going to help you out a lot.
Right, okay. I'll get that to her. But the other point, don't forget to file, is that you need to file that they're not upholding their oath of servitude.
Okay.
That is very important because he is supposed to be there to be equal, okay? And he's not being equal, so he's failing his oath of servitude.
Okay. You had mentioned prior to file this in the D.C. court. I guess I'm lost my notes. Why would I do that? I mean, I'm not opposed. I'll do that. I'm just trying to...
In D.C., administration and courts supersede the states because they're under contract of the federal government.
Okay, and I would ask, why do they care that I file it there? Or how are they going to say that
They're not going to ask you why they care. They're going to get pissed off and go, oh, shit.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's like right now I'm putting up on another Facebook dealing with how to file on the clerks. Okay?
Beautiful.
The clerks, if they don't do their job, you know, I have a deal right now with Oregon that I got sent out that I'm waiting for it to be done on a PDF file so I can put up. But I want to get this filed out there so when these public servants are not honoring their servitude of duty, that you file this and you file this servitude in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. either cuts and has that public servant immediately terminated, or they cut off the court funding to the jail, and that's by their administrative rules.
I would ask, why do they care?
They have to care because that's the point. If they don't go by their employment of we the people, they don't have a job. That's why democracy right now is running wild, and people go, oh, we're a democracy. We are not the devil. We are not the British government. We are not King James Bible. We are no religion. That's why it says freedom to religion, because the structure of this country was founded on what? Oh, Mother Earth, the Great Spirit, and the Creator. That's what the natives talk about. And that's even in the founding structures going back in the paperwork of this country, is said that. You know, people want to change things to fit what their belief is, or their religion belief, or their point of view.
Okay.
Does that make sense? How many times in your life, not to, you know this, but how many times have you changed something to fit your political points of view for you?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, everybody's done it, so, you know, that's the thing. We can't be ashamed of things. Well, when we get older, we start accepting, going, oh, shit, I didn't realize that. I didn't do that. Oh, why would I do that?
Right.
You know?
So I cannot use basically a court in North Dakota because I'm suing the one judge from he has both Morton and Burleigh counties, and I'm also suing their state's attorney and the Attorney General, plus the 5 Supreme Court judges. I don't live there, so do I then have the right to...
You have to live in any part of this country so long as your bloodline is 48 states. One of the 48 states, that means 48 states, you are lawful in 48 states.
Well, and so
we have the right to travel in 48 states without being encumbrance.
Well, see, a year ago, I had filed paperwork at my local courthouse where I live now in Colorado, and they needed exemplified copies of the divorce decree and that, and it says once you file into their court, you have a case number, you are able to utilize their courthouse. So, I mean, I can't file anything else at North Dakota except for at the federal court, and I don't want to muddy up anything there because that's going forward well, I would say. Would I then try to utilize my local courthouse for any paperwork? I guess I'm wanting to press forward and sue my ex and his attorney.
Angela?
Yes.
I just thought of something because I had, when you're first addressing the court, there's things we don't think about. Mm-hmm. You can move for a bias to be, as the judge being biased against you. If you find that you're being put in a position and the judge is not listening to you, you can move on a bias move against the judge, and you can transfer your case to a different district court.
Yes.
Okay, so a change of
So
venue?
so if that judge starts to, in other words, where you feel threatened in court and that judge is going against you, you can state right on the record that I now feel threatened, and use that word, I now feel threatened in the courtroom, and that I am claiming you're being biased against me, and then you can move for a new judge.
But where would I take that to? Because
you can leave it right there in the same court, but you're going to request for a new judge, or you can request for a notice of removal, and you can move that court into a different district because you feel threatened now, and you can leave it in the courtroom, but if the court
take
gets
it out
really
of
nasty,
the courtroom to another,
move it into a new district.
Same bed.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
You want to remove it from that courtroom because they all sleep in the same bed,
yes.
And you can request an out-of-county or an out-of-state judge to come in and sit on your case. You can request another judge from another district or state to sit on your case because you figure of the bias that is going on in that county or that state because of his employment and connections to other other administrators.
Right, exactly. I like that. The Supreme Court wouldn't be able to hear anything because I've sued them in my lawsuit. So
yeah, what did you accomplish when you sued them? Did you get any compensation?
Well, that's what we're in the midst of with the notice of final judgment to move the court for default.
Okay, but when you did that, did you ask them to make a judgment on your divorce with your child?
Cut out a notice on the divorce, what?
Did you ask them to make a decision on your child as well?
No, that was not in there.
Okay. That is a frustrating point.
You can always, if, in other words, if it gets really nasty, you can always make a move, and it's called a notice of removal. Look in your booklet that I gave you for a notice of removal, and that it'll kind of help you out with the verbiage.
Okay, I just had the link. I have to find the link again. I don't know. I try to keep it, but things disappear. Okay.
You can also, Angela, you can even know. In to act as a judge in that court on a biased move because you feel threatened now and you don't feel that you're going to get a fair trial or hearing.
Oh, I'm not going to. No, I got screwed.
Well, if you feel threatened upon that court and you feel that they're acting biased against you, then that's when you can file a notice of removal. You can actually forward your case into a federal court because now they're in violations of federal law because they're violating your constitutional rights. In order to move the court into a federal court, you have to claim that they violated a constitutional law.
Right.
And that would be against your civil rights.
But you have to prove that, too.
That's right. You would have to prove that.
And nobody responded.
Now you want to do a summary judgment on that.
Oh, okay. Isn't that what notice of the final
judgment is totally different? They don't. You're asking for summary judgment. You're asking for a judge to put his stamp on it. Says that he agrees that you won everything.
A summary judgment is like when you're moving the court for a final judgment. That would be like a summary. And then when the court grants your wish, then you go into court, and that would be the final judgment on that summary.
Yeah. So anyhow, Dave, why don't you finish up here? We got a few minutes here. We got our end deal that we're going to be doing here every time we do the show, because I like doing this with Red Skelton. And then we're going to get some other stuff eventually setting up. We'll have other stuff that we'll set up next week, because I got running off on things today. I didn't get things caught up that I wanted to have set up. And some things for tonight that it just didn't do it because of my schedule. So, Dave, I'll let you finish up with your point here, throw your stuff out. We got about a few minutes, and then we got that deal with Red Skelton that we do, and I want to make sure that everybody comprehends this. And please, folks, think about what Red Skelton is really saying here. Okay? This is the point that, you know, if you're an immigrant, you know, like I said, I don't have a problem with the structure of legal immigration. And believe me, there is none of this, that immunity of immigration. Immunity does not exist for a public servant. It does not exist for a judge. It does not exist for a cop. Okay? There is no such thing as immunity from a crime. That is only when the devil of democracy does it, just to sit there and try to cover up the crimes that they have done, like our acting governor, Kate Brown, has done numerous times. And I've proven that because she was involved, you know, in 2006 with others trying to put me in federal prison, trying to say my broken neck was an imagination, was in my imagination. When the Department of Justice came out and clearly stated I had a broken neck, and I went for justice, and all of a sudden I get run around because I know how judges and attorneys and all sleep in the same bed. So anyhow, Dave, I'm going to give it over to you, and then I'll hit the final, and then we'll get into Mr. Skelton for his...
Dave, you're up. Go ahead, Ed. I'm sorry. I was just calling for Dave.
Oh, where'd he go?
Men's room.
Oh!
Sometimes, Ed, things are more important than you.
No comment. I have a feeling with that one, too. I've been there.
Oh, Lordy. Well, are we down to the closing?
Yeah, we're getting down to the closing. We got about 10. By the time you get done, I get done, and then we got the closing with the Red Skelton, so he's going to have the final word. Okay.
And people pay attention to Red because he makes a lot of sense in this production. What this country is missing from the younger generation is respect for this land. They have no clue what our founding fathers fought for, died for, gave their all for. My personal family members gave over $10 million to support the Revolutionary War. So think about that. That was in gold. It's never been repaid, but it was $10 million in gold. So think about that. You realize that 2% of the population at the time of the Revolutionary War, 2% of the population here in this republic fought, bled, and died for your freedom. So what Red has to say, take to heart. Tape it and play it to your kids, your grandkids, their children, if you're that old. We need people to comprehend exactly what that Pledge of Allegiance to our flag represents. This is a great country. I have not lost faith in the people of this nation, nor have I lost faith in the justice system if it's done correctly. But our judges, lawyers, and attorneys, if they wish to continue to comprehend and do what they take the oath of office to do, They could straighten this country up. Oh, pray for it, people, because we need it. I think it was a great call tonight. I really hope and believe that those who listened paid attention to how the courts, judges, lawyers, attorneys are taking advantage of everyone for personal gain. And that has to stop. So I guess that's basically all I have to say. I trust you all take it to heart. Think about what's been said. I don't think they're going to prove us wrong. They wrote it, we quote it. So with that in mind, Ed, I will turn her back over to you for closing, and God bless America, people. Because if he doesn't, nobody else is going to do it. Good night.
Good night. Anyhow, my point, former Trump campaign advisor says Russian emails should have raised the red flag to you guys. This asshole got fired because he refused to register with the Foreign Registration Administration Act. He acted like a Hillary campaign manager and claimed democracy. Now, we don't give a shit. If we're going to war, we're going to blow each other for nuclear arms or whatever. Let's do it. Get it over with. Let's quit this damn game. It's like, you know, we got to quit this mental and emotional roller coaster in life. Now, you know, the Russians have already been having nuclear testing. They were able to do 10 million people in an hour to get them underground. 10 million people in an hour to get them underground. In the United States, we have nothing like that. There are people who are well enough educated who have planted their houses and stuff like that where they got resources and set up to be underground if something does happen. You know, this shows you how unprepared we are, and we don't even pay attention to reality. Now, these people are going after Trump. I don't vote. But the point is, Trump is the head of a corporation. He's the president of the corporation, the 1871 corporation after the Civil War. Wake up to the Civil War. You know, comprehend what the Civil War was really about. The North, we weren't paying taxes. We weren't going to be involved in it. 1990, I was involved with things in the state of Oregon where people weren't paying property taxes outside the city limits in Oregon. So with that, I would like to say, may the Great Spirit, Mother Earth, and the Creator bless you. Travel safe. Think about it. Go on to new.org and trackers. We've got a new sticker up there that I'm able to set up for metal plates and things for the house and stuff like that. We got some inexpensive ones that we're going to be coming up for doing that. You put them up on your front door, your front lawn, where we have stickers to put on your covered wagon, your transportation covered wagons, and your recreational vehicles. With that, I'll let Mr. Red Skelton say his final piece, because, you know, the one thing is that this guy was an immigrant, and he got to be better than most immigrants. I would say better than 95% of the immigrants that have it today. Did we lose it?
Well, I remember a teacher that I had. Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And this is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher. Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell. He says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester. And it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word. I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge. Dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, O glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states, 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose, all divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose, and that's love for country. And to the Republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people, and it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as it is mine. And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God. Wouldn't it be a pity if someone said that is a prayer, and that would be eliminated from schools too?
You have been listening to the disclaimers by Davidlee Buess and Edward Johnston. It is currently 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on July 17th, 2017. Thank you for listening, and have a good night.
Good night, all.
This session